generation. However, with this advancement in technology, we have ethical challenges like concerns about plagiarism, bias, integrity, and responsible AI usage. So as researchers, it is crucial that we navigate these challenges thoughtfully to maintain the credibility of our academic work. So to guide us through this discussion, we are honored to have with us our distinguished facilitator in person of Mr. Kingsley Owadara. At this point, I invite Mr. Omojarabi to read the citation of our speaker.
Mr. Kingsley Owadara, if I have your permission, may I go ahead to read your citation? Mr. Kingsley, if I have your permission, may I go ahead to read your citation?
Yes, please, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Kingsley Owadara is an AI ethicist at the Pan-African Center for AI Ethics, a dedicated not-for-profit organization committed to fostering the development, deployment, and use of AI in a manner that prioritizes human-centric values. At the heart of his role, he spearheads the initiative to craft and refine ethical AI frameworks, ensuring that artificial intelligence technologies are developed and deployed with a strong emphasis on human values, ethics, and inclusivity. Beyond his contributions to policy development, Kingsley has been an active voice in the AI ethics community, engaging in numerous projects, dialogues, and advocacy efforts. His work focuses on promoting a human-centered approach to AI across its life cycle, from design and training to deployment and practical application, specifically within the African context. His expertise and insight have not only enriched national conversations, but have also drawn international attention. Kingsley Owadara's work not only amplifies the importance of ethical considerations in AI, but also serves as a beacon for responsible AI development that truly benefits humanity. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the facilitator for the February edition of the Thomas Adewumi University KnowledgeX series, Kingsley Owadara.
Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our distinguished speaker, Mr. Kingsley Owadara. Mr. Owadara, the floor is yours.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Please first confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, we hear you.
Can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much. It is an honor to be facilitating this event. This workshop or webinar this evening. I want to appreciate the entire Thomas Adewumi University Vice Chancellor, Professor Francisca. Thank you so much for this privilege. TAU is a school that I hold so dear in my heart, and when Dr. Samuel told me about it, I could not just say anything but a yes. So I just have 30 minutes to talk to us this evening about something that has been of global discourse, and that is AI for academic research. And I know that what people want to hear this evening is, should we use AI for academic research? Is it yes or no? That's what most people, are waiting to hear this evening. But let us just move into the slides and see what we have to say about it. My slide is very brief. I decided not to load in so much slides so that I will not spend so much time talking. because this is a topic I love to talk about. So you just help me confirm if you can see my slides in some moments. Just some moments and my slide will be up. Just a moment. But while I am pulling up my slide, I want to do a brief survey on the participants that are, listening to me. I mean, both the students and also the lecturer. So, just a moment. I want to ask in this place, or the other used AI for any work, penalize you, used AI for your work. Anybody? At one point or the other, you use any AI tool for your work. You can just indicate by a show of hands. Okay, I can see one. That means just one person. Wow, this is interesting. Okay, that means people are really, they are just, just hold on while I'm trying to pull up.
So what is it called? Not say, I want this.
My slides.
Oh, Kingsley, can you check
Okay,
your
I can
network?
see another. Just hold on.
Check your network. You seem to be breaking.
So, bye-bye.
Check.
Speak and
Yes, your line is breaking. Maybe to check your network.
just hold on. Oh, so sorry about that. Let's.
So Kingsley, you can unmute yourself. I had to mute everyone, and I've made you post, so you can share your screen and unmute yourself.
Please confirm if you can see my screen.
Not yet from my side.
All right, so I'll just go straight. Use of. Okay, I think you can see myself. This is AI in academia and the ethical use of AI in research. And yes, my name is Kingsley Wadara from the Pan Africa Center for AI Ethics, and I bring you. My work is basically focused on ethics starting from development down to implement and use AI and use AI the right way. That is what is most important to us. And thankful to many persons that have many organizations such as Thomas Adewumi that have helped us in driving most of especially it's that earlier. I just want to
Kingsley, please can you check your connection?
do a brief work about
the line is cracking and we cannot see your screen. It shows that you're sharing your screen, but it's blank, at least from my end.
just let me find a solution. Just a moment. Probably just let me jump on that device if that would work. Just give me 2 minutes. Record. Please. Help me get on the device. Can you please unmute me?
So you're not muted, Kingsley. Do you need us to intervene in any way? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes, I am.
From my
in
end.
with another device.
Okay. What's the name of the device? Oh, okay. Make it co-host. Yeah, I've seen the. So your 2 devices are unmuted, and then
Yes.
you also co-host in the second device.
Great, thank you. So sorry about the glitch. I'll just go. Please, can you confirm if this is much better? Thank you.
Yes.
Just go. Please, can you confirm if this is okay? So I think the first question we need to ask when we are trying to answer the question.
You're sharing. Can you share on this device? Because I don't see your screen.
Oh, okay. Let me reshare.
Okay, thank you. Or if you send the slide to me, I can share from my end for you.
Oh, great. Let me send it to you then.
So we can see the possibility of me sharing.
Sorry about the glitch.
That's technology. It's fine sometimes.
Some moments. These things are just unpredictable. Okay, so while I'm trying to share the screen, I will just keep up the presentation, and then once we are able to share it, we will just kick off from where we have stopped. So what first of all, what I wanted to start with, is we need to ask ourselves a very important question. And the question is, why in the first place, do we engage in research? Because if we are able to answer that question, that would help us to be able to properly, answer, and properly, check if we could actually consider, the use of AI in such process. So I listed some things here, and I feel that they are something that is worth considering. So the first rationale why that I put here, for why we engage in research is first for intellectual and personal development. I mean, nobody would ask anybody to do any research just for the fun of it. You are just happy, and then the next thing you are doing is to engage in research. Definitely not. So, and in this process, there's a lot of things that you consider. In this process, you are considering, curiosity. Probably you are just curious about a particular thing, and you feel that to satisfy your curiosity, you would want to engage in research to help out. The other reason is that it could be for personal growth. Probably you're undergoing a particular program, your undergrad, your graduate program, or even a PhD or a postdoc. You're undergoing it, or you are trying to and then for some reasons, for some persons, research could be some sort of, a way to enhance their problem, solving skills. And I find that, very, very outstanding, because research helps you to uncover a lot of things, especially if you are dealing with, quantitative research, where you want to use the research to uncover data. And that is great, right? That is great. The next reason why people, why you would want to, undergo some sort of, academic research would be for advancement of knowledge and innovation. Just imagine most of the innovations that we've had, currently in the world, they are a result of research. For instance, the open AI, tool that you are using right now to check, either you're using open AI, you're using Google, you are using Gemini, or you are using, any tool you are using right now, right? Those tools are brought forth from, research by some group of persons, which means that research are critical tools, for innovation. Other reasons would be for social or societal impact and contributions. Research are very, very important to contribute to, to social growth. Just imagine vaccines, right? Vaccines that drug research, medical research, the advancement in technology, advancement in or reduction of crime rates, right? All these they are data-driven, research that helps to show how you could actually, minimize crime.
right? In fact, there are even research that could even help you to prevent some kinds of crime, which I find very great. And then other reasons why you would want to undergo why want to go through academic research would be for community collaboration. I believe that there's a lot of things that we can do as a community when we collaborate to do some certain research, and that's the fact. That's the fact. There are many things that, as a person, you will not be able to do until you collaborate, as a community. Please, I want to confirm if anybody can still hear me.
Yes, we hear you clearly.
Oh, thank you very much. Prof, I shared the document with you.
Yes, I got it now. Like, I'll just go ahead. I'm gonna be sharing that shortly. Let me open it while you go ahead.
Oh, great. So, looking at these four reasons, whether you're looking at intellectual and personal development, contributing to the knowledge, contributing to the knowledge, base of the current research you are working on, or you are looking at it from the perspective of, advancement and innovation, or you are looking at it from the perspective of societal impact and contribution, or you're even looking at it from the perspective of community collaboration. All these are, something that makes a whole lot of sense. Now, we while we are looking at this, looking at all these four things, I think a critical question that we need to ask ourselves is that, where does
Can I confirm if you all can see my screen? I'm sharing my screen now. Can everyone see my screen?
See it, ma.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. So you can.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much, Prof. So, irrespective of any of these reasons why you're undergoing the research you are undergoing, well, there might be other reasons probably I didn't capture here why you're undergoing the research undergoing. The critical question we want to ask ourselves is, what do we consider, in the use of, what do we consider, how do we bring in artificial intelligence in what we are doing, and what are the things that we should consider? Now, let's look at a typical research life cycle, because I find it very, very important to talk about, because we are looking at the ethical considerations or the ethical means, the ethical, dilemmas when it comes to the use of artificial intelligence for research. Now, let's look at, I decided to, I compiled a typical research phase, and this could be either funded research, or undergrad research, but I looked at it from a typical research phase, and I'll be speaking more on this particular phase. And still on the question of, is it really ethical to use artificial intelligence for your research? Now, let's look at it from first a perspective of idea generation and problem identification. Now, at this phase, you are trying to develop a research question or hypothesis, and you are trying to identify the study scope and potential gap. Now, at this phase, you are trying to generate a topic. Critically, you are trying to generate a topic for your research. And I have seen arguments on this, that should you use AI to generate your ideas? Should you use AI to generate research methodology? Should you even use AI to generate hypothesis? Should you use it to generate your research question? Should you use it to generate the scope of study? No, should you use it? And And I think that it's something that we would discuss here. First of all, what we need to know is that AI and artificial intelligence, a typical AI tool is built from several data, either on the internet or on the internet or any data source that the tool is used, any other source that the company decides to use. And many school of thought have said that yes, you can use artificial intelligence for your idea generation, and this is their reasons why they think that the reason why it's a yes for them is that you want to use you want to build on existing work, and it will not make sense for you to um, do a research that has been done before. And others are saying that well, you should not use it, because if you use it, you might be duplicating somebody's work. The second one, the literature review and background research. At this stage, you are conducting a comprehensive review of existing literature, reference previous work, and ensure paper attributions, and ensure proper attribution, to acknowledge others' contribution. And this is where I find so much issues with. The first is that because of our work in the center, we get to work with a lot of researchers, and most times I just say literature review and I just laugh. People think that you could actually upload a particular person's paper in an AI tool and you ask for summary. Well, that can be true if you are using tools that were specifically built for that purpose. And this is why I think you must be very careful. If you're using general purpose tool like ChatGPT, or you're using other general purpose tools, because those things they are prone to what we call hallucination. What are hallucination? People have tagged hallucination, but hallucinations are giving outputs that are outside the parameters of what you have imputed. So usually, because the thing is trying to analyze what you have imputed, depending on the kind of model you are using, it might give you something outside the scope and the context of what you have requested for. And in this instance, what I usually advise would be that while it is good that you are trying to ease your work, try to review a lot of paper, I think it is also good that you read and understand what that tool is giving you, so that you will not fall into error. Because if at your background research and your literature review you are falling into error, it means the entire paper would fall into error. The next is on the research design and methodology. Well, this could actually help in trying to generate innovative ways to put your methodology, right? Because in this instance, you are deciding on your research approach, your qualitative, quantitative, or even mixed methodology. Outline data collection, analysis, method, reference, established framework. I feel that in this instance, it's while on the other end of this instance, I refer to the research design now. You might want to probably get some innovative way to get this done. But on your methodology, it's a key thing on you to decide how you want to do it. Well, you might decide to also, get some little ideas here and there, but you cannot, put the totality of your designs, your methodology design on an AI tool. Still, I think I did mention something on attribution and referencing, which I am going to talk about probably, in the next, before I finish this particular page. The next you want to talk about is the data collection and analysis. Here you are gathering data, methods, and then analyze it with clear replicable technique while ensuring all data sources are properly attributed. I think it is fundamentally wrong to depend on an AI tool to gather your data. For me, I see it, to the extreme, I see it as an academic fraud. And this is the reason. The reason is because you are unable to reference the data you are using. But let's even look at it. Why do you reference in your academic research? Why do you need to reference? You are referencing because, number one, you want to show that what you are using is genuine. Number two, you are referencing because you want to show that the source of your arguments have some sort of epistemic authority, right? So you are showing that it's genuine, you are showing that it's credible, and then you are showing that it has some sort of epistemic authority. So if you are using an AI tool to put in your data collection, either your methodology research or your data collection, how do you prove these 3 points? How do you show that an AI tool has some sort of epistemic authority? I think it is flawed, right? The next thing, how do you show the credibility that this source is credible, right? And then the third thing, how can it be verified? So because of these 3 things, I personally perceive it as some sort of fraud to use an AI tool in the data collection, generating data, or even drafted manuscripts. While if you are trying to review, to analyze a data with an AI tool, it can be great because you already have your data and you're trying to analyze. Well, while you're analyzing, I think you must analyze with the caveats. And what's the caveat? The caveat is that you are trying to make an original research. And once your data gets into an AI tool, it means you have contributed to the knowledge base of the AI. It means you have contributed to the database of the AI. And this means that you have opened the back door for another person to use your work. So that means that if you are trying to do a research because of the originality of your work, the purpose has been defeated. Now, on drafting the manuscript, writing initial draft, incorporating all references and citation as needed, using plagiarism detection tools, to confirm originality, blah, blah, blah. Now, in this phase, as I've mentioned, it is fundamentally wrong. And this is the reason. You are talking about the originality of your work and your own integrity as a researcher. No matter the AI detection tool you are using to detect whether it would, detect whether it is AI or no AI, you should know that these AI tools, they have set some parameters. There are some keys. They have set some parameters to detect patterns of AI, right? So it means that you could probably export, because I have tried it out. You could do a work, probably generate your content with ChatGPT. You take it on Quillbot to detect whether it's AI written, and then tell Quillbot to rewrite. Then you now export it back to Grammarly to check whether it's properly done. For me, I think it's just, as Yoruba we call it, olegbe olegba. I mean, thief took it. I mean, you would definitely have issues, right? So if this AI detector don't catch it, this AI or this other one will catch it, and then the king of it all, you take it to Turnitin, it gives you another thing entirely. I think at the end of the day, what matters is your own integrity as a researcher. How would people perceive your work? how would people perceive your own personality if you have drafted a complete work, a complete manuscript using an AI? The next is review and revision. And I want to talk about this. Probably I will just mix these two. I'll mix these two with peer review and ethical clearance. So I was reading a particular post on LinkedIn 2 days ago about, was it LinkedIn or X? So these guys, they were, is a professor, peer reviewer, for ICLR. And they were commenting, no, not a professor, I think a researcher. He was lamenting of how, he submitted a work, and then the reviewer, because it undergoes a double-blind peer review. So the reviewer sent his review, and then to his shock, he saw that the totality of what the person reviewed was an AI that reviewed it. And this is shocking, because I think the crux of this conversation first fundamentally is, because that's why it's an ethical thing. I think fundamentally it's first on your integrity as a person. Either you're the writer or the reviewer. And the person was lamenting that, he got a review of his work, and this work was totally AI reviewed, because there was nothing, no reference to any line of his work. The person just gave something random. I want to just encourage, if there are reviewers, listening to this, that, it's good that you want to make your work faster. But I think at this stage that we are in the world, it is still great that, work are reviewed traditionally. And this is why, and this is my thoughts. The first is that you want AI to review a work that was originally done by a person, and we are putting it in an AI tool. So how do we prove that this work is original if it has been if you have contributed it as a person to the database of an algorithm? So it means that you have compromised the person's work and almost made the person's effort futile. So it is good that, while it is good that you want to use AI for review, you should also consider not just yourself, but the responsibility you owe, the responsibility you owe the author of the work, the responsibility you owe the author of the work. And then on the publication and dissemination of the work, this is on the to publish your research, either in academic outlet or and then also on ethical declaration. So I want to talk about ethical declaration. Depending on your channel of publication, you need to understand key rules on the use of AI, on their own rules on the use of AI. Right? What is their own take? Some will tell you that use an AI tool, but you are totally responsible for whatever you have acknowledged, and that is what ICLR does. Or probably you are submitting in NACM, right? Their rules or their policy on the use of AI is that you should ensure that you are using an AI tool, but anything you have written is particularly your responsibility. Others will tell you that they do not permit the use of AI. Others will tell you that you should use an AI tool, but you should declare the tools you have used. Others would say that you should use an AI tool, but you should attribute or you should reference. Well, I find that very challenging, because if you are to reference an AI, the first thing is that, one, do you reference the prompt? So some institution will tell you that you should reference the prompt you have used, the model you have used, the time you used it, and other details. I find it very challenging, because if I reference my prompt, I reference my model, I reference the time, there's no way you can verify it to show that I actually went there. Because if you use that same prompt, you get another answer. You get something entirely different. So what do you rely on? So I think what you rely on, first of all, is, and that is why it is an ethical thing, not a legal thing. Although there is an intellectual property angle of it, which talks about, theft of intellectual property. When you use somebody's work without referencing, it's an academic fraud. In fact, some institution hold it as a criminal. No, some see it as criminal offense, and they'll tell you boldly that this is a criminal offense. So it's an academic theft, stealing what is not yours and attributing it as what is yours. So what is great is that you consider the channel you are using it for, what's their role, and then your integrity as a person. Now, on the main question, which would be like the second to the last, slide of my presentation, because I'm trying to be very brief. Should AI be used for academic research? Is it a yes? Is it a no? But before I just finish this part, I want to give some of my findings. So I did a research. I and a colleague did a research. That was late last year, around November, and the topic of our research was, on explainable AI, how universities, are implementing explainable AI, and what were we looking at? We are trying to understand how does institution in Nigeria, implement explainable AI? How do they implement the decision of an AI tool to the students? Because you are dealing with students, right? How is AI explainable? And our methodology was that we viewed institutions that were established after the advent of NDPR, that was 2017, Nigerian Data Protection Regulation. Altogether, we reviewed about 75 to 90 universities. And what were we looking at? We went to their websites to check out their privacy policy, to check out their policy on the use of AI, because you need to make that thing public. And do you know that from our findings, less than 5% of universities in Nigeria actually have a privacy policy? We checked about 90 institutions. Less than 5% have a privacy policy, and less than 3% actually have a policy on the use of AI. And I find it alarming. I find it alarming because it means that we are just using it. There is no guide, there is nothing, So it is good that every institution have, a rule that guides the use of AI, for academic research, so that people can publicly know what is your stand. Should people use it? Yes. Should people not use it? Because right now in the world, there is still a heavy debate on whether should people use AI or should people not use AI. So it depends on the institution. And I think it is great that institution spell it out on whether the student or the lecturer can use an AI tool, and to what extent at which these tools can be used. So for me, I tag it as AI use of AI policy. So this particular policy could highlight, whether you are on the attribution block, or you are on the declaration block, or you are on the referencing block. Just tell us where you belong, right? So that way it would help people to understand the extent at which you want them to use an AI tool. Because this is what I found out because of our work, in the ethics. We found out that whether you like it or not, people will use AI. So if you are saying they should not use it, they should use it. Whether your presence or your absence, people will use AI. But irrespective of what happens, if you are using AI, it is good that first you need to know that, and you need to know that if you upload your work in an AI tool, your work is no longer original. And this is my stand. And why did I hold this stand? Because you have contributed to the database of a tool, and you are not even sure of who is at the back end, who is the man behind the door, right? So your work is no longer original. Number two is that if you use AI in your work, and when I mean use AI, you just went to copy and paste, your work is also not original, right? Because you are getting from a source that there's no human input, right? Number three is that for you to properly use AI, for your work, you need to know that number one, you have to divide your research into two, right? What is the crux? What is fundamental in your research? And that could be your findings, your data sets, your topic, and basically the idea of what you're doing. Then that one you must be slow to use an AI tool. But those parts that you think that are not so serious, probably you are trying to get ideas. You are trying to get, how your research direction. You're also trying to get probably available research. Then that one you should, you'd want to use AI for it. All in all is that number one, don't impute your research findings, your data set in an AI tool. Be careful to depend solely on artificial intelligence for your work. Also, be careful to put personal data to those things, to any AI model. And personal data would be your name, your institution, your email address, your location, your gender. Probably you are dealing with health data, health record, you are dealing with financial data, financial records, and all those things that could be, identified to a person. You are careful not to use it there. And that is the end of my presentation. I hope I have not stayed longer than I should. If I'm open to, questions, if you have questions from my presentation, I'm happy to, answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Owadara, for that presentation. Does anyone have any question here or online? Any question? So I would ask two quick questions, sir. Let's take, for instance, a TAU student wants to Let's take, for instance, a TAU student wants to take on a project that involves using health data. Let's say probably diabetes, and this is Kwara State. Probably we are taking into consideration University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital. So getting there, they ask you for ethical clearance as a student. So what are the processes you think that kind of student can go through to get that ethical clearance? I saw that in your presentation. And the second question is this. Let's say you're working on a project, and we know in Nigeria, we don't have a data bank, so to say. So you have the data set, but it is incomplete. Is it wrong to use an AI tool to make it generic, the rest of the data set? So those are my two questions, sir.
Okay, so I'll just take all the questions together so that we can save time.
Yes, I think we have Adiola had her hand up, and then we have someone else in the chat. We have a question.
Yes, I do. Okay, so my question is going to be, so for example, the data sets we use, we don't have data sets available to open in Nigeria here. Do you think using some of these data sets, because they're already being used, there's going to be a penalty for that? Do you think data is already exposed to AI? And how often do you think we can get data to work with, even if it is available to us? So even getting it online that is already being used, What if someone has already uploaded that same data set online for somebody else and we use that? Is there anything ethical regarding that also?
Thank you, Adela. We have Adewale Ogunbeson online.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Mr. Kingsley, or Dr. Kingsley, I didn't capture that. Thank you very much. You gave us a very wonderful insight. Okay, my wonderful VC. Good evening also. My question is actually, I came late, apologies, but I saw that throughout your slide, even during your explanation, you only spoke about ChatGPT. You didn't speak about Croc. And Croc will tell you they're better. We all know what Elon Musk does. So while relating with Croc, will these interfaces, data sets, ethical copying, not copying, will it still relate, or is Croc better? Just give us a little bit insight on it. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Ezekiel, our lecturer, Ezekiel Ogidepo has his hands up. Ezekiel, please take the floor.
Yes, thank you so much, Prof. And good evening, Mr. Kingsley. Please, I have a question concerning the use of AI. Let's say that in my institution, for example, they don't want us to use AI. And for me, I wrote everything from ground up. And what I just use AI for is just to help me refine my writings. So I don't know, is that a good use of AI? Thank you so much.
Okay. Moderator, I don't think we have any more questions, so we can yield to Kingsley for his response.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, handful of questions than I thought. So I'll start from Grok. So okay, maybe I would mix the question on, because there are a lot of questions on data sets. The first on how, on using AI probably to complete a data set, and then Grok, data from Grok, and using Grok. I referenced more on ChatGPT. So everything has to do with data sets. Before I now go to the question of ethical clearance. So using Grok, there are several AI tools. I remember that I mentioned that you need to first to understand at what stage you are in your research, at what stage you want to use the AI tool for, and the AI tool you are using. Now, there are some general purpose AI, like your ChatGPT, I think Perplexity, Meta AI. For me, I classify them as general AI. And why did I classify them as general AI? Is because these things are just, they are built from like call it random data from the internet, and then they were annotated, they were trained, and then used to answer any question. So for Grok is on Twitter, right? I mean, Twitter, formerly X. People have, by history of research, people have generated a lot of insights from X. Either you are looking for, especially those that are into misinformation, disinformation, sexual abuse, in fact, crime. Many have relied on Twitter data to do that. And since Elon Musk got on board, most of Twitter X API have been for sale, I think about $100 to get to use it. So for you to use Grok, I would say that it depends on what you are really doing. It depends on the extent at which the research you want to do, because you are not sure if Grok was trained mainly on tweets. You are not so sure, because most times, some AI company do not embrace reciprocity. And reciprocity in this instance means that if an ethical principle says that you must be transparent, you want users to be transparent, Are you also transparent about the data you use? Most will not even declare the data because they will tell you that it's against probably it's going to expose their trade secrets, right? To expose it. So my recommendation, not really recommendation, but my comments on the use of AI to either Grok or anything for data is that you should be slow to use it. It should have been a different thing if you are generating an API. But using such, first of all, maybe we should go and read their policy, right? Number two is that the data on an AI tool are data that have already been, it has been trained, it has been, it has been sorted, it has been annotated. So you might not really find the original data. So that means such a tool might be, to good extent, might be prone to hallucination. So I think if you are using any data from an AI tool, it is good that if it is verifiable, try to verify how true is your data. The other question, I don't know if I answered that particular question, or probably there is more specific question, that there is on Grok. So I feel that it is that's my take, right? That's my take, because an AI tool is prone to a lot of hallucination, where it can say what it does not say. So it is good that you verify your data to be sure that the data set, the result you are getting is right. Otherwise, you would end up misleading people from the data you have generated from an AI tool. And sure, you can actually mislead people from it. Now, on the question of whether it is great to impute your data or with an AI tool to complete your data, well, and then if it's on publicly accessible data, well, that can be dicey. And this is why I think it is dicey. It's dicey because if it's a public data, okay, it's dicey because it depends on the outcome of your research. For instance, let's say you are trying to build like a dummy model. Probably you are doing an hackathon. Those ones they're okay, because we are talking about academic research here. Academic research that is to drive innovation. So if your research are not academic research, you can go on the AI tool and generate as many data as you want. It's a dummy data. But if you are doing an academic research, you are trying to bring probably a novel contribution to the academia, I think the best bet would be that you should take your data set if you are the one that generated data sets. If you are the one that went to do all the diggings, do all the questionnaires, do all of those things, I think it is better to take it outside AI. Take it outside AI. And then somebody asked, if it is good to, using AI for, doing a finishing touch on your work. Because my emphasis, on when it comes to AI and academic work, my emphasis are usually integrity. Integrity. If you are taking your time to do a work, probably you have done all your literature review, you have read a lot of peer review, you have done a lot of analysis, and then you now went to put everything on an AI tool to help you complete it. It might not be a good idea, and this is why I think it is not. Because we do not currently have, Africa is still working on, coming up with foundational models and building an Afrocentric AI tool. It is a bit difficult to ascertain where the data is domiciled, maybe in Silicon Valley, and what it will be used for. So it's not a great idea, actually. You could probably give the AI tool an idea of what you are doing and what you could do better, probably but not you putting everything word for word. I think the whole idea is that you should try to outsmart, an AI tool, and not allowing an AI tool to outsmart you, because you don't know who will have access to this work again, and your work would lose originality. And there is a lot of, there's a lot of contention, current research on watermarking, algorithmic AI GCs watermarking. I mean, AI generated content watermarking to show that it is from AI. While the world is not settled yet on best, watermarking metrics, it is good that as a researcher, you should be smart. You should be smart on the way you use AI in such a way that we would not say don't totally use AI, but use AI in the most smartest way, such that the integrity of your work would not be lost while you're trying to complete your work. Okay, somebody also asked how often on the question of how often you get data and using AI to do it. I think it's basically depends. It depends on what you are looking at getting at. It depends on where you're looking at getting at. Sometimes you are trying to develop a metric and you just need random data to check whether what you are developing is going to work. In that instance, probably if you use an AI generated tool, AI tool to do it, it will give you what you want. Then if you get real-time data to test it out, it will help you. But it is great that when it comes to data that is not generic, data that is peculiar to you, I do not encourage the use of AI to use in analyzing data. It is not a great thing and still boils down on the integrity of your work, because somebody else can actually have access to that work and that will compromise your work as a person. The last question is on the issue of ethical clearance. Somebody said that I didn't talk about ethical clearance. Well, ethical clearance usually it depends on the kind of research you are doing. Some might actually ask for ethical clearance. So if your work is requesting for ethical clearance in this case is not whether you have used AI or not, right? You are trying to obtain ethical clearance based on it. Now, it is also ethical clearance also is institutional. So I think the first thing you need to do is that either you are doing medical research, you need to understand, try to know which institution, what's the relevant institution for ethical clearance, because you just want to be sincere about the purpose of your research and what is your motive, the motive of your research. So it could be probably your university can give you an ethical clearance, or maybe a medical, and health institution, can give you. So you should first of all take out the institution. Once you have determined the institution that is responsible that could do a clearance for you, then you generate the clearance. You try to draft out the clearance, which would actually include like some sort of research proposal, right? A research proposal, and then you also, obtain, necessary documents. Probably can be like an informed consent form. I think these things are usually prevalent when you are doing like a funded research. If you are doing a funded research, those things are asked. So you get like, necessary documents, and it could range from consent form to your data protection plans, or even some sort of, your budgeting and your funding details. That's if they actually request for it. And then you could submit the application for review. And once it's reviewed and they are comfortable with it, they should give an approval to, they should give a clearance, to the ethical, ethical clearance. I think I have answered all the questions. Is there any questions I have not answered, or are there further questions?
I think we have some questions in the chat. There is one by Ezekiel. Are we now saying the best way of using AI in academic research is coding assistance? And Adisa Ibrahim Rahul, Professor Adisa Ibrahim says, I do not encourage the use of AI in academic research, especially in science-based research. So I think one person expressed an opinion, the other asked a question. If you just
Yeah, so the use of AI in academic research will just be for aid, to aid you, probably, in idea generation. And I could say this a million times. The key thing about academic research is, to contribute to the knowledge base. It's no longer academic research if you are duplicating what's already existing. So if somebody had done a work and are duplicating it, then why are you doing the research? It's just a waste of time. So, and if you are using an AI tool, the likelihood of duplicating somebody's work is very high, because an AI do not generate data on itself, except probably there's some sort of feedback loops. It's trying to train itself by itself, but still it is getting data from somebody, from somewhere. And people, generate data. Data is gotten from people, is gotten from people and by people. So it is me that would probably go to Lagos Island and mention how many cars have passed, and then I document it. Or probably a particular surveillance tool is kept there to dictate how many pregnant women walk around this road, how many blue cars are passing here. All in all is that people generate data. So for any data you are seeing, any prompt output you are seeing in an AI tool, it means somebody kept it there, or it was gotten by somebody, from somebody. So the originality of your work is not, your work is no longer original if you are getting what somebody else has gotten, and then you are making that thing somebody else has done as the foundation, as the crux, as the pillar of your work. You could use that as foundation. Probably you're trying to, when you are doing maybe your literature review or something that's been there before, you're trying to say, okay, this exists, that exists, that exists, and then this is my contribution to the knowledge base. But you want to pick what somebody have done, and then that thing should be like the pillar of your work. I think it's fundamentally, it is defective. So my take would be that AI should be used as an aid when it comes to academic research, and not as the cornerstone of your work. But notwithstanding, it is encouraged that institutions have that specific policy on the use of AI that would help guide, researchers in that institution to use. I have seen a lot of institutions outside Africa actually have, their AI use in research policy, and you can find it publicly, where people could actually check it out. So it's great they have it, so that while the world, legislators are still trying to struggle on regulating the use of AI, in education, while they're trying to regulate that, it is good that, institutions come with some sort of, self-regulation on or policies that could help guide people when they are using such tools for their work. Do we have further questions or any comments?
Is that a question? Okay, I think that's our Vice Chancellor just added his voice that AI should be used as tool to make our work easier and to generate idea. Mr. Kabir Yusuf says, good evening, Prof. and Mr. Speaker, please. I want to ask regarding use of AI in doing research. Ordinarily, if I write a paper, I used to make use of experts to help me review, particularly for grammatical errors, which most of the time as a human, my work could be delayed as the person may not have chance. If I make use of AI for review and correction of my work, is there any problem with that? I think that's Grammarly.
Okay, so I want to talk about that. It is good that we understand the policies of any AI tool before we use them. And for instance, last week or 2 weeks ago, OpenAI and Google, they edited their privacy policy to include that, before they removed it, that their terms of use, that their models are not used for warfare. And then later they removed that particular thing. And then most people also give you the ability to toggle on if your tool can be used for, if your prompt can be used to train their model. But some tools do not have it. So I feel that when you are using a tool that do not have such privacy by design, it's good you run away. So if you're using Grammarly, I use Grammarly too, but you need to go to your Grammarly and toggle off using Grammarly using Grammarly, training Grammarly from your research. So there's a way you can actually turn that off. Check your settings, you will see that. So before you start putting the originality of your work in Grammarly, just turn it off. Because the truth is that AI people have been using, technology for reviews, technology for referencing, technology for grammatical work, even before the advent of generative AI. But what we are looking at actually is compromising the integrity of one's work and being sure that the tool you are using is a trusted tool, that they would not go otherwise. And for me, I find that particular feature in Grammarly very, very exciting, very, very interesting, where you could go and toggle off if the tool should be used, if your data should be trained, should be used to improve the tool. OpenAI does not have such. So it is, if you're using Grammarly, just go and turn it off. That's like the conclusion of my answer to that question.
Thank you so much, Kingsley. Before I yield to the facilitator of this session, Lily, I just want to inform our participants that the presentation is already available for download in the TAU Open Educational Resources repository. The URL is there in the chat, so you can get the PDF. There are still some questions. Please, if you download this, I think Kingsley's contact details should be somewhere there. Otherwise, you can reach out to the KnowledgeX team and they will put you across to him for some further discussions. It's been a very interesting time. I apologize, we're staying beyond 5 p.m. It's usually 1 hour, but technology, sometimes we have to spend some time getting the technology aspect ready. So I'll yield to you now, Lily, to close the session. And I want to thank Kingsley on behalf of the TAU community. You have given us so much. In 2023 June, you were here for the KnowledgeX TAU. Last year, we hosted your boot camp, the Pan-Africa Center for AI Ethics boot camp. And here you are again sharing with us from the depth of your knowledge. Thank you so much, Kingsley. Lily, over to you.
Thank you all for your thoughtful questions and engagements. And thank you to Mr. Kingsley for those wonderful answers. A special appreciation to you as speaker for your time and invaluable insight. A heartfelt thank you to our Vice Chancellor, the Registrar Management Team, and all the members of staff of TAU. And thank you to our distinguished guests and all participants for making this session impactful. Let us continue these conversations even beyond this session. Let us make sure that AI is used ethically in our academic pursuits. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great evening.
Thank you all. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.